Hello and welcome. So, are you a Google One VPN user? Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you are. But either way, you need to get ready for what's coming up because on June 10th of 2024, so a couple of months from when I'm recording this, it's going to get shut down. So I know it's a familiar story. But we're going to talk about why specifically Google One VPN is being discontinued, how to uninstall it, how to go about selecting a reliable replacement, and this is the interesting part of this, which Google VPNs are not affected by this, because it turns out that there's more than one because, Google. So let's get this party started, shall we? Alrighty, here we go. So, yes, welcome again to another episode of Google is putting something to bed. It happens a lot, and like I said before, this is frustrating on a lot of levels, but I also have to acknowledge that it takes, so we have to give them some credit, right? Because they are willing to experiment, they're willing to try new things, and they're willing to acknowledge that maybe not everything is going to work exactly the way they want. And that's a part of evolution. That's a part of how we get the cool stuff, but it also makes it a bit of a joke, and it does also cause some frustration. First of all, I want to thank Marcus for being a member, not only being a member, but just upping his level of membership. Thank you so much, Marcus. I really, really appreciate it. That is very sweet of you. All right, everybody, it's time to mark your calendars once again for a Google sunset. This time it is the Google One VPN. So Google One is a service that you can buy from Google that gives you, basically you're buying it because you want more storage space, but it comes with other perks. And one of the other perks that they added was a free VPN service. And that is going away, as I said, on June 10th of this year, 2024. And you need to get prepared for it if you're using it, or even if you're not, or if you thought you were and you're not, which I'll get into. Because VPNs are very useful for online security. So we're going to talk about how to remove the service from your devices and what options you have going forward. But as always, we do like to level the playing field. So what is a VPN? VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And what that is a software and a service that creates a secure connection between your device and a remote server. And then that encrypts your data and masks your IP address as you are surfing the web, doing using online tools, all that kind of good stuff. The purpose of this is to anonymously transfer your data over public networks. It's another level, another layer to prevent people from, unauthorized, I like the term, eavesdropping onto your call, right? Onto your connection, onto what you're doing and where you're going online. Very often people are using, yes, exactly. Marcus has nailed it as always. Google giveth and Google taketh away. And this is just the part of the reality that we are living with. So yes, 100%. So most people use VPNs on public Wi-Fi, where there's a greater risk to your data safety because, there's some sketchy Wi-Fi connections out there. Also, people are more prone to sniffing and playing. We'll put a good spin on it. Playing on open Wi-Fi. There are other uses for it. For example, not that I would ever have done this, but, I have heard of people who use that to get past some sort of like geocaching. Like, let's say you wanted to see Doctor Who when it was coming out, not have to wait in the olden days before it moved to its new location. This would be a way to do that. It's also really handy, and it's used a lot in work situations. So a lot of you who are working from home, very often you have to connect to your corporate servers through a VPN, otherwise they don't let you in. And again, that's because they want that extra security, because while working from home is awesome, they have concerns also. Now, really extreme situations, again, not that I've ever run into this, but sometimes corporations will actually have you use a VPN even when you're on site. So it's not just the work from home crowd. So even if you're in the office, very often you have to log into the local VPN or whichever, VPN tool your work uses, even to access the stuff at corporate where you're working. So there's a lot of uses for it. So let's get into the key points of what we're talking about here. So Google One Shutdown was just recently announced, and it's going to be shut down on June 10th, 2024. The why behind this, why it's happening, Google says the decision was based on usage patterns. It seems that people were not using the VPN service as much as they expected. So they're going to take those resources, that funding, those teams, and focus on other Google One features that are in higher demand. That doesn't surprise me. And I have to admit that this feels fairly reasonable because I had Google One VPN and I didn't I didn't use it. And that's not like me. Something like that is usually something I would jump on. But I work from home. I have a corporate one, for corporate, so I didn't need that. And the other services, which I'll talk about in a minute, that they have served my other needs. So even me, who is into this stuff, wasn't really using the Google One VPN. But as I just alluded to, there are remaining Google VPNs. So the Google One VPN is specifically the one that's going to be shut down. However, if you have a Google Pixel phone, I use this a lot as a prop, but it's my real phone. So I think it's Series 7 or later, or you subscribe to Google Fi. I do both. I have the Pixel 8 and I'm a Google Fi user. You still have those built-in VPN options. So like I said, when I'm out and about, most of the time I'm using this. I mean, I don't really use my phone as a phone, and I don't think I'm alone on this, right? My phone is my mini computer, and it goes in my pocket with me everywhere I go. So when I'm out and about, the VPN that is already running, because I have a Pixel phone and I have Google Fi, I think it's just using the Google Fi one. I think when you're using both, it just uses Fi. But it covers me. It covers my VPN needs and options. So we're all good on that. So really the impact of this decision is going to be just on the folks who use or have access to the Google One VPNs. It's not everybody's using it. So if you have Google One VPN and you're counting on that and using that for your online privacy and security across your other devices, you're going to need to find a replacement because this is going to go away. So what do you need to do? First of all, mark the date so that you remember to get your new solution or make your new decisions before June 10th and get into the habit of using the new one, whichever one you're going to pick, just so that you don't forget, right? Because life gets busy, and I find personally, I just if I've on the calendar, then I'm more likely to remember it. I even go the extra step of setting the reminder. So like a day or two before, it would remind me. In the process of doing that, you're also going to want to remove the apps if you have them installed. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But whatever apps you have, whatever devices you have the app on, you're going to want to go ahead and remove it because it's just using up space at that point. And you want to get the new one set up, and you don't want to have two VPNs running necessarily because they can compete. And just there was a point in time where people were loading well, one virus checker is good, then multiple virus checkers is better. No, because then they're fighting each other and they're using up your computer power, which means that you are not able to get your stuff done. So as you are thinking about what your next step is going to be, the first thing to do is understand how you are using or should be using your VPN. It's essential for everything you do online, or is it only something that you need to use in specific situations? So it's only like when you're in the coffee shop or you're out and about, or do you want to have one that's available to you at home as well? Maybe you're on a shared internet connection, housemates and all that kind of stuff, and so you do want to use it at home. Again, you want to think about all these things, look at all the different options, because depending on what it is that you want it to do, what your areas of concern are, that will influence your decision going forward. So you want to make sure that, if it's public Wi-Fi that you're using and you want protection there, if you want to mask your location from specific websites, those answers will help you figure out what your best replacement is. If you are a fellow Pixel and or Google Fi user, you're good. It's going to be a seamless transition for you. It's going to be business as usual. Starting sometime in June on our phones, we're going to get a dedicated VPN option service running in the background probably. And it's going to remove the need for the Google One app. So you can go ahead and remove it yourself. But I'm also getting the feeling that it sounds like maybe Google will just remove it or switch it over for you. So you've got some flexibility there. And the Google Fi built-in VPN remains unchanged. You don't have to do anything at all about that. So really, it's only if you loaded the Google One VPN app on here, which I don't think I did, then you're all good and ready to go. Before we go farther to the next one, first of all, Marcus's birthday is June 10th, so Marcus will have no problem remembering what the cutoff date, because it's his birthday. I hope you're doing something fun for your birthday. That's nice. But for those of you who are maybe new here or forgot, my name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. The short version of the story is I do technology as my day gig. It's also my hobby. So because of that, my friend, family, neighbors, coworkers come to me when they have a question, when they have a problem, when they're looking for recommendations, and over time have recommended me out when their friends, family, neighbors, coworkers have the same issues. So that's how I really started to understand that not everybody has a resident geek to talk to. So hello, that's what I'm here for. We're here every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I always bring a topic, but you are more than welcome to jump into the chat here and, bring questions. You can put questions into the comments wherever you are, or you can reach out to me here at yourtechcoach.com. If you have a suggestion for a show topic, if you need help with something that maybe I can handle by email, or if you want to schedule a one-on-one consult, all those things are here. All right. So now that we've covered that, let's keep going. If you are looking to find a new VPN, there's a number of things that you want to consider. And again, your needs will help you figure out what is important to you, and that will help you figure out which way to go, because there are a lot of VPN vendors out there. And Gamers Paradise has recommended me out, and I do appreciate that. Yes, thank you. Hey, John, how you doing? I know that's fine. I mean, that's what I can do. Like, that's my area of specialty, the same way that, like, I just had to reach out to an electrician friend of mine because the light at the top of the stairs burned out and my favorite lighting store is no longer in business. So I'm like, hey, who's your favorite supplier? And by the way, when are you going to be available to come and switch out my light? Because it's right at the top of the stairs. Like, I'm not afraid to do some of this stuff, but I'm not putting a ladder at the top of the stairs. I don't trust myself that much. So there we go. All righty. Hey, gamer, you want to take care of the... Or maybe I can do it. There we go. I love when people are idiots. Anyway, so it's okay. It happens. You got to roll with these things. Fortunately, we get good tools. All right. So back to, how do you decide what VPN you're going to go with for your specific needs? The first thing you want to do, first of all, is you want to find a VPN provider with a trusted reputation, with a good reputation, right? You want somebody with a proven track record of security and privacy. You want them to not have had a lot of leaks. I mean, the reality is everything can be hacked. But do your research, find somebody that instills a sense of trustworthiness. Do your research, read reviews, all that kind of stuff. Then think about the features you need, right? So does it offer, unlimited data, or does that not matter to you? If you only use it once in a while, you don't necessarily need unlimited data. A monthly cap is fine. But if you are going to be using it a lot, then unlimited data is going to be important. Do you want multiple server locations? What level of encryption do you want? There's going to be encryption, but what level of security do you want? Do you want special features like a kill switch, right? Which shuts down your traffic if your VPN disconnects in the situations that you mention it. Or that you set it up for. And then you're also going to want to check to make sure that the VPN that you're looking at is compatible with the operating systems and devices that you need it to run on. In most cases, the answer will be yes, but every so often you run into a particular vendor who does not work well with X device or X operating system. So go ahead and take a look at that. And then you're going to want to look at price, right? Very often, you can get a better deal with a VPN if you go with a multi-year subscription as the best value. But, price is important. Now that we're talking about price, let's talk about the other side of that coin, which is, I'll just use a free VPN. I really strongly suggest that you consider going paid. Free VPNs don't have the best track record, right? And it's the kind of thing that, the rule of thumb online, right? If you're not paying for it, then you are the price, right? You are the product that is being sold, because on a free VPN, they've got to make money. There's servers involved, there's software involved, there's, support teams that need to be paid. So they have to be making money someplace. And if you're not paying them, then they're using you to get money from somebody else to keep the lights on. And this is something, in some cases, that's not a big deal, right? If you want to use the free Canva, that your general information of, usage and topics that you're doing art on and all that kind of stuff, okay, fine, you can have that. But when it comes to a security solution, you don't want to also be the financial source, or you want to be the financial source as far as you paying them. You don't want your data to be their financial source. So I strongly recommend that in this case, you find one that you can afford, because bad things can happen, right? And the whole point of using a VPN is to avoid the bad things. As far as recommendations go, I'm not going to give you specific recommendations in this live stream because, again, as we just talked about, it is very specific to your use case. I'm happy to go deeper into the process of picking one. I can focus a whole show on that if you want. Just let me know in the comments. But everything changes rapidly. There's a lot of very specific things for you. But so here are just some ideas to keep in mind, or places to go and start doing your research to help you find that reputable site, right? So I would recommend going to places like TechRadar, CNET, Tom's Guide, because they constantly are reviewing and ranking and updating and tracking the activities of the VPNs. Those links are all in the description, as always. So I would go ahead and keep an eye on those resources, at least as a starting point. Obviously, you're going to hit the web and do your other research, do your own research. Another thing to keep an eye on is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, and organizations like that whose whole focus is security, right, and keeping you safe online. They're an independent organization. They're another one who will provide insight on trustworthy VPNs, things that are happening in the VPN space, all that kind of good stuff. So keep an eye on that. The other thing that you're going to want to keep an eye on is the announcement from Google, because not only does Google take things away, but sometimes things change. So I did link to, and let me bring this up. Take this out of the way. So in the description, there is the link to the announcement that they made about what's going on, and you can come back here and you can get your updates on what's going on. They also provided a link, and I did put this link in my description as well, to their Play Store, which has a list of VPNs in it. But understand that this is not necessarily their recommendations, although, the Play Store is monitored, right? And they do try to keep the bad players out. But this is not just, hey, Google said use this. This is just a list that Google has provided. There's a difference there. But you can come back here, and I do recommend between here and June 10th that you keep an eye on it and you go in. They've got their FAQ, why, and all this kind of good stuff. And they'll add to this as needed. So this is another really good resource to keep an eye on. Okay. So, look, I know, just bring this up here. Okay. So Marcus says, in the case of Canada, it's probably more your potential to become a paid user. That is the product. Yes, but, and also with something like Canva, the paid users are also to a certain level subsidizing the free ones. Don't get upset. But it's not that, that's what you're doing completely. Really what you're doing is you're getting access to, the paid features, and you can go ahead and use any of their assets and all that kind of stuff. But they are also selling to advertisers, hey, there's been an early uptick in Mother's Day, things being created, or there's, people are using a lot of pictures of panda bears or whatever it is, that kind of information. They're probably selling to somebody. They're also, they've got a very complex financial setup, which is a good way, right? Don't put your all eggs in one basket. They also get paid by the third-party apps that are plugged into Canva. So if you're using certain filters or whatever on your photos or whatever, that is also a revenue source for them. So they're getting it from a lot of places. So yeah, I mean, they're not making a ton of money off of whatever patterns of data that their show is selling to somebody, but they've got multiple resources, so that will keep them afloat for quite some time. But yeah, great point. Okay. And that's not going to go away. Okay. I think I'm going to do a whole thing on... Really? Okay, it's still not going away. Hang on. There we go. I need to rebuild my profiles, but that's a whole other issue. Okay. So look, I understand that, change, losing apps and tools is inconvenient, absolutely. And, Google is going to take their usual hits, and jokes for, hey, the graveyard just got deeper. And this is certainly no exception. But by being prepared, right, knowing what's coming, finding a suitable alternative, and there are a ton of really good alternatives out there, you don't have to put your online security in any risk, right? So you can go ahead and find something that's going to work for you. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want me to do a deeper dive in how to evaluate those VPN services, or how to decide where you should be using a VPN and, where it's not necessarily. Marcus is stubborn, won't go away easily. I like that in a person. I'm the same way. When I find something I like, that's the way I go. Okay, so for you folks that power through to the end, you know how much I appreciate you. It really does help the videos. It helps the channel. So here's your bonus. There are detailed instructions on how to remove the Google One VPN app from your system. Let me just bring this up here and we'll go into that. So we'll walk through it real quick, but it's also it's in that Google document that I referenced earlier, and that link is in the description. But if you go to this section, how to remove it, I mean, they do a nice job. At least when they take things down, they've been doing it so long, they've got really good at anticipating our needs, right? So on your Android device, you're going to go in and you're going to delete that profile, right? So you're going to go into settings, VPN, next to Google One, tap settings. That's interesting. Here, give me a second. Let me see if I have that. Do I have this? Maybe, maybe not. All right, so settings, connection. Yeah, no, I never even turned it on. Okay. Like I said, I have Google Fi, so I knew that had the VPN. But you're going to go in there, you're going to go next to Google One, tap settings, delete the VPN profile, and then if the save is there, go ahead and hit the save so that the new settings are there. Then you're going to want to go in to the app and turn that off. You can also, if you have the app installed on your phone, you can also go in and just uninstall that like you uninstall any other app. For iOS, it's pretty much the same thing, just slightly different locations, right? So you're going to go into settings, general, VPN, and device management, hit settings next to VPN by Google One and delete it. And then the same thing, turn off the app, and then I would add the extra step of uninstalling the app, right? You don't need to have apps sitting on your phone that you're not using. Same thing for deleting from the desktop, right? So on Windows, you're just going to go into settings, go to apps, and uninstall the app. And on Mac OS, you're going to go into your Finder and go to applications, and then move to trash. So there you go. There's your extra bonus for being a trooper and sticking all the way through. I really do appreciate it. I hope that this is not going to cause too much stress in your world, but I understand, if you do have to make these changes, you do have to take the extra steps of doing this kind of removal and cleanup. Not optimal, but the good news is there are other options out there. And if you are a Pixel or Google Fi person, so you don't have to be, it's not Pixel and Google Fi, right? It's Pixel phones, you're covered, whatever service you're on, and Google Fi, which would be on different phones, right? You don't have to be using a Pixel phone to be on Google Fi. So for whichever side of that you fall on, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. You may just notice that, something changes as far as the service it's using, if you pay attention to that kind of stuff. And if you do have the Google One app installed on your phone, you might as well go ahead and remove it because it's not going to be doing anything for you. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for coming out and checking this out. As always, if you need anything, you have questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to know what's coming down the pike, you can jump on the mailing list. That's yourtechcoach.com/mailing list. I don't sell your information to anybody. This is strictly a way for me to communicate with you what's coming. So feel free to go ahead and sign up. And on that note, I'm going to go and feed the doggo. I hope you all have a great weekend, and thank you so much. Bye.